I get asked all the time, how do I add a new move, a new technique, a new tool to my arsenal? I do all these breakdowns, I give you guys all these resources and tools and things that you can add to your bag. But then the question I always get is, all right, I'm overwhelmed. How do I actually add these things and make it so I can do these in a game? So I'm gonna give you guys a 4-step, pretty simple process of how you take something from seeing it the first time or learning about it, and eventually getting that to the point where you're doing it in a game consistently. It's gonna be a move, a technique, whatever. So without further ado, let's get into it. So step 1, the most simple step, you see the technique. So this could be watching an attention to detail video. This could be seeing someone's highlights. This could be playing with somebody else and maybe they hit a move on you and you're like, dang, I like that move. I like that technique. I'm gonna try it out. So obviously this sounds simple, but it is an important starting point. Step 2 is just experimenting with it. I think we overthink this one a little bit too much sometimes. We see that move that we want to add into our game and we think we have to do it perfectly the first time. When in reality, number 1, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's gonna take a little while for you to actually learn this. And number 2, we can add our own flair onto this. I don't want you to always just take something that somebody else does and then try to get it the exact same way that they do it. You guys could have different styles of play. Maybe they have a longer wingspan, so theirs looks a little bit different. Maybe you're actually better at a certain movement, so you can add your own style on top of it. Because of this, I want you to experiment with as many ways as possible to do this. So try a bunch of different ways here. Your speeds, your angles, the timing, the counters, all of that. You're just going through, messing around with it, exploring different ways to do this, and just seeing how it feels. You're kind of getting a feel for the entire thing. Number 3, you're gonna apply this in a controlled setting. So what I mean by this is preferably you have someone else to play against. At some point, you're gonna have to do that anyways, and preferably you set it up so you can only use this move or this shot or the counters that go into it. So for me, I'm using the same setup every single time, but I can react differently out of this. This way, I'm starting to apply it into a live situation earlier, so I don't become robotic with it. I learn how to read the defense here, and so I can get feedback on this too. If I'm doing it on air, I'll never be able to tell whether it's actually working or not. If I'm doing it on a defender and they lock it up, then I probably have to do something a little bit differently. Whereas if I try something new, maybe it works that time, I'm like, all right, that was something that I can continue to run with. So you get that initial feedback of actually playing against a defender. You start to learn how to read the defense with this move or this shot or this technique, and then you can move on to just free one-on-one. So this is still a controlled setting. You don't have coaches or crowds or any of that, but you're playing one-on-one and you just try to use it here and there. Then maybe you bring it up to a pickup game or a 3-on-3, and you continue to work your way up. And then lastly, it's tough to tell you the timing on this one, but something usually just clicks in your mind where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm comfortable enough doing this in a game. And I'm not talking a pickup game, I'm talking a real game that matters. You have a coach, you have real teammates, and at some point after you go through these 3 phases, you'll get to the point where, again, it just feels comfortable. You feel confident enough doing this in a game. So pretty simple process, all right? Couple keys to make sure that you're doing this the best way possible. Number 1 is continuing to watch others and yourself do this move. So to put it simply, we have these really cool things in our brain called mirror neurons. So when we watch someone else do a skill or do a movement, what these do is actually replay that in our brain. So in a way, if I watch someone shoot a basketball, I'm getting a little bit of practice shooting a basketball in my brain because I can feel out that motion through these mirror neurons. So in other words, if I watch someone do this move, whether that's an NBA player or just my friend, or I film myself and I watch myself do it, I'm actually getting a little bit more practice, or at least I'm refining this in my brain. Number 2, and I already mentioned this a little bit, but I would suggest doing this on live defense as much as possible. You don't want to be stuck with a move that only works on air. You want to make sure that these are very functional in a game setting with live defense. When you're making decisions, you're reading the defense. And the best way to do that is not waiting until it's perfect to put it into a live situation. Just go try it in a one-on-one. I've tried plenty of moves. I encourage my players to try plenty of moves that maybe they've never even tried before when we're playing one-on-one. Because why not? And then lastly is incorporate visualization. Once you do start doing this with live defense, you can get that picture of how the defense is going to react. Now you can take it into a workout by yourself and you can kind of visualize how that's going to happen. So hopefully I didn't confuse you with this process. I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. I also do realize that everyone's going to have different learning processes, and that's okay, but this is definitely the process that I've seen work best. As always, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at ByAnyMeansBasketball. Stay tuned for a lot more like this.